Integumentary system includes skin, hair, nails, sweat glands, sebaceous glands or oil glands, and the structure of the skin is consists of two distinct regions, that is the epidermis, dermis, and hypodermis. Hypodermis is like the base, and dermis is like the superficial from the base, and then epidermis is the superficial layer of the skin. So we can say that hypodermis is like the base of a house, and dermis is like the main part of the house, and epidermis is like roof of the house. And epidermis, superficial region, dermis underlies the epidermis, and hypodermis is also known as the subcutaneous layer, which is deep to the skin, and it is called superficial fascia. And most adipose tissue is here uh, to absorb shock, and it also insulates. It anchors the skin from the underlying structures like muscles. uh, it anchors the muscles from the skin, and that is why it is called hypodermis. And uh, epidermis consists of four main cells, that is keratinocytes, melanocytes, dendritic or Langerhans cells, and tactile or Merkel cells. Keratinocytes produce fibrous keratin, with the protein that gives protective properties to the skin, and it makes the major part of the epidermis. And melanocytes produce melanin, which are accumulated in membrane bound organelles, or not organelles, sorry, granules, called melanosomes. And then comes the dendritic cells, that are star shaped macrophages. It forms the immune cells of these epidermis, or like they patrol deep into the epidermis. And the tactile Merkel cells, they have a spiky hemisphere, and the tactile cells are associated with the nerve endings. So they have the sensory receptors which recept the sense of touch. And uh, melan- uh, the skin color is contributed by three pigments. The first is melanin. This melanin, which uh, it is the only pigment which is made by skin, made by melanocytes. It shields the DNA of our cells from the sunlight. It has two colors. One is reddish yellow, and the other is brownish black. Carotene is the second pigment, which is obvious in the palms of our hands and the soles of our feet, and it accumulates in stratum corneum and hypodermis. It also has beta carotene, which mostly is the precursor of vitamin A or retinol. And hemoglobin, pinkish hue of the fair skin in Caucasian people, is because of this hemoglobin. And skin of the Caucasian people is more transparent, and hemoglobin shows through their skin. And he, this is because the lower level Caucasian people have lower level of melanin, and it has a pinkish hue. It gives a pinkish hue to their skin color. Okay. And the layers of epidermis consists of 5 layers in thick skin and 4 layers in the thin skin. 5 layers of the thick skin include stratum basal, stratum spinosum, stratum granulosum, stratum lucidum, stratum corneum. Stratum basal, as the name suggests, base. It forms the base of the epidermis, and it is the deepest layer of the epidermis. It is also known as the stratum germinativum because of its active mitosis. Cells which divide in the stratum basal then further move to the upper layers of the epidermis to form new skin cells. Stratum spinosum, uh, it is several layers thick, and it has keratinocytes which appear spiky or prickle cells. That is why it is called stratum spinosum. It has spines, spiky structure due to keratinocytes present in them. Stratum granulosum is cells above this layer, above the cells in this layer. All the cells starts to die because the outer layer of our epidermis is made from all dead skins. Stratum lucidum, it is the only layer which is present in the fourth at the fourth number in the order, and it is only present in the thick skin cells. Found in only thick skin, lies superficial. It is above the stratum granulosum. Stratum corneum, it consists of dead cells. It protects the deeper cells from the environment. It prevents water loss, protects from abrasion and penetration, act as the barrier for biological, chemical, and physical assaults of any kind. It is also known as the horny layer because its cornum is equals to horn. Dermis. Dermis is the middle layer between the hypodermis and the epidermis, and dermis makes the major part of it. And dermis has two layers. It is the strong, flexible connective tissue. Fibers in the matrix bind together. It contains nerves, blood vessels, and lymphatic vessels. It contains epidermal hair follicles, oil glands, and sweat glands. As I said, it has two layers. First is the papillary layer and the reticular layer. Papillary layer is named because it has papillae which connects to the epidermis, and the reticular layer forms the major part of dermis. And the papillary layer contains the superficial layer of areolar connective tissue. Loose fibers, also called phagocytes, patrol for microorganism. Dermal papillae, superficial region of dermis that sends finger-like projections to the epidermis, and it is known as papillae. The projections contain capillary loops, free nerve endings, and touch receptors called tactile corpuscles, and also known as Meissner's corpuscles. And the reticular region is mostly composed of the dense, irregular connective tissue. Collagen fibers in dermis gives strength to the skin, and resiliency also binds the water, and it keeps the skin moist. Elastic fibers give skin the stretch and recoil properties. Reticular layer also forms the flexure layers. The flexure layers are the lines of cleavage. So dermal folds at the they are all there at joints, like in our fingers, in our hand. They are all there in the joints, like our hand folds. They are present in those layers. Uh, Dermis is tightly secured to the deeper structures, and it is said that uh, if we make a what is it called a cut to parallel to the flexure lines or the cleavage lines, it is said that it would not form gap. But if we make opposite to the cleavage lines or the flexure lines, it can form gaps. So the stitches could open anytime if we make a cut through our cleavage lines. Okay, and that's it. It includes homeostatic imbalances and the function homeostatic imbalances like exposure of the skin to sunlight. Uh, it can depress our immune system. Sunlight can destroy the folic acid in the skin, which is very harmful for production of development of embryos. It increases photosensitivity. And the functions of the skin includes protection against any physical, biological, and chemical assaults, and body temperature regulation. It maintains the temperature of the body by producing sweat or producing goosebumps when we are cold. Or cuteness sensations also metabolic functions. It is a blood reservoir and it helps in excretion of waste like sweat. uh, that's it. Thank you.